Hey everybody, it's Don again from North of Detroit Outdoors. Thanks for joining me. Over the last few years, I've been putting a lot of effort into purchasing some really quality gear to make my time in the field and on the water that much more enjoyable. And it's already starting to make a difference. Now, one thing that I've really wanted over the years is an ATV. Well, an ATV can do a lot of things for me. One, it can make me completely self-sufficient when I'm out in the field. It can help dragging deer. It can help me get gear to where it needs to be. But the main reason I wanted an ATV is because I love ice fishing.
Whoa!
Now, ice fishing hasn't been the best in southeastern Michigan over the last couple of years because the temperatures have not gone low enough to freeze the lakes. So, what I've decided to do is branch out to travel up north a little bit further where the temperatures are lower and the ice fishing is better. But even then, the best fishing is often far from shore, maybe hundreds and hundreds of yards, and it would be very difficult for me to drag all of the gear that I have out to where the best fishing is. Now, that's where an ATV can come in really handy. So I put the word out to family and friends, letting them know I was in the market for a good used ATV. And lo and behold, I didn't have to look very far because my brother in law owned a 2005 Honda Rincon. Now, I had seen this quad in his garage for many, many years, but I hadn't really thought much about it until I was reminded that he owned one and that he was willing to part with it. And I jumped at the chance. Now, when I picked it up, it was a bit dirty, but nothing a little soap and water couldn't solve. And once it was cleaned up, it turned out to be a really good looking machine. I promptly changed all the fluids for a little bit of peace of mind and to make sure it was road ready. I borrowed a trailer to bring it home, but I immediately purchased a set of ramps so I can load it into the bed of my truck. The ramps I purchased were about 150 to 200 bucks, and I made sure to get a set of ramps with a flat, consistent surface so that I can load little things like a lawnmower or a generator or even my deer cart, that equipment that has smaller wheels. So although the ramps fit very nicely under the ATV when in transit, I made sure to get a pair of ramps that folded up into a nice small footprint because I'm going to store them in the back seat of my truck because when I load the ATV into the bed of my truck, I have to remove the tonneau cover, and putting them in the back seat of my truck makes sure that they stay secured when I'm out riding. Now, when it was time for me to load the ATV for the first time, I remembered videos that I'd seen online where people had loaded their ATVs the wrong way and it ended in disaster. So I watched lots of videos on what not to do. So there are a couple of things that you want to make sure that you always do when you're loading your ATV in your truck. One, you want to put it in four-wheel drive. And the most important thing that you do is make sure the ramps are secured to your truck so that they aren't pushed away as you're driving up. So thankfully, I survived the first load of the ATV into the bed of my truck, and I feel pretty secure about the process that I have. Next, I took a lot of time to understand how I was going to secure the ATV to the bed of my truck with some heavy duty ratchet straps so that it doesn't move when it's in transit. Okay, now that I have the four-wheeler secured and ready to go, the one thing that really bothered me still is that the tailgate was just completely open and it's going to be bouncing around, especially if I'm on rough terrain, and I don't want that. So I was looking for solutions and I went on YouTube this morning and I found a solution that works really well, and I don't have to spend any money on a new tool, some of which can be like 200 bucks for a tool that allows you to put your tailgate in various positions. But the solution is really simple. You just take this cable and you wrap it around that post. So you just put it on the tailgate, wrap it around that post. Then I'll do the same thing on this side. Pull the cable up, wrap it around that post, and then suddenly I have a tailgate that's at about a 45-degree angle, maybe a little more than that, but it's exactly what I need. And because it's in contact with that rear tire, it adds some positive pressure to keep the quad in place. So I'm really happy with that life hack. And if this is something that's new to you, I'm sure it's going to be beneficial as well. And I also created a wooden spacer to put in the front receiver of the ATV so that it positions it perfectly. It's far enough away from the rear window, and it's also wedged between the tailgate, so it's perfect. Another issue I had to overcome was storing this ATV in my already overcrowded garage. but it turned out to be a pretty easy fix. I consolidated some shelving units and I removed some firewood from my garage to make room for the ATV. And now it's perfectly positioned right behind my truck. Now, one really big reason I didn't hesitate when purchasing this ATV, despite the fact that it's almost 20 years old, is because it only had 200 miles on it. It had a brand new carburetor, and this thing ran like brand new. On my first opportunity to take it out to some dirt roads, this thing got up to 60 miles an hour. Now, that's not something I plan to do very often, if at all, but the fact that a machine this old can still run like brand new was more than enough reason for me to purchase it, and I'm so glad I did. Now, if you can't tell already, I'm pretty excited about the opportunities that this ATV brings and the new adventures I'm going to be able to have. And with any luck, I'll be able to bring you these same adventures right here on North of Detroit Outdoors. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.